Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, Joe.
Hello,
How you doing?
Joe.
Okay.
How long have you been together with Mike?
Wow.
Elaine?
Well, very personal.
it was for Elaine.
Wow. I mean, for a really long time.
At any point of your relationship, have you ever considered having an open relationship?
Wow. It's also personal, and I'm not going to answer this. How about you, Joe? Did you think about having an open relationship with Girly?
Only if it involved Ryan.
This is weird.
But being Filipino, you don't really think about having open relationships.
It's closed?
It's close open. But there's a new movie out, sponsored by TFC.
What?
That's about a Filipino couple thinking about having open relationship.
What?
Interesting.
Are they
Yeah.
Catholic? Is this even possible?
What will their parents say?
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't know.
Are they married or are they living in sin?
Well, they've actually been together for 14 years.
Ooh.
And then when the two began to feel that the relationship was going stale, Ethan, which is the main guy, proposes going open.
Oh.
And Rome, who is the leading lady, feels it's the only way she can keep her man.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so the whole rom-com is about them trying out an open relationship.
Wow. I wonder how that works.
I don't know. I gotta
especially
see this movie.
especially in the Philippines, it's very taboo.
Yeah.
I
Taboo.
wonder. Oh,
Taboo.
yeah. Actually, that's interesting, huh? It'd
Yeah.
probably be more accepted here in the States.
Yeah, I'm curious, who are they in this open relationship with? Like, who are these people who joined their
Well,
relationship?
I guess we gotta watch.
I think so.
Yeah, but they're actually gonna have open. They have an opening this October 4.
Opening relationship?
Yeah,
When does the opening relationship begin?
they begin having an open relationship in October 4.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're gonna have theaters all over the United States, so go check it out.
Just in time for Filipino American History Month?
Yeah,
What's the title of the movie?
I don't think that relates, but
No,
okay.
it doesn't. It's called Open.
Oh, the movie's really called Open?
Yeah,
Oh,
Nice.
there you go. It works out.
yeah, and the sequel is called Close.
Close.
You're gonna watch it, Mike?
Sure.
He's gonna watch it.
I would like to watch it
So Ryan will watch it.
and report back.
All right.
All right,
You
go
tell
check it
us.
out. Go check it out. October 4. Open.
My secret, just do something that ain't nobody ever done before, but make it sound like something that's always been there forever.
All right, welcome. We are here at the Filipino Workers Center in historic Filipino town. And if you live in LA or been a longtime listener to the podcast, you know that this is a place that some of us have worked at, volunteered at, as a part of our community. We interviewed in the past Aki Soriano Versosa, Executive Director, Filipino Workers Center. And so, we have a strong connection to this place and this space and the work that they do. So for the last 2 days, Filipino Workers Center hosted an event called Towards Freedom, the Filipino American Anti-Human Trafficking Summit of 2019. And we didn't get a chance to attend ourselves, but as a part of this summit, there were plenty of friends and supporters and people working on these issues here in town in LA. And so we wanted to take a chance to talk to some of them. But overall, Filipino Workers Center and the work they've been doing, especially around kind of workers' rights and trafficking, has been a really important topic for us, especially considering kind of all the different rights issues that have been coming up. Workers coming to America from the Philippines, trying to seek jobs and, being potentially subject to exploitation. And so, we want to make sure we had a chance to kind of illuminate this subject. Joe and Elaine, what do you guys know about trafficking and how it pertains to the Filipino American community?
That I know that Filipinos, our largest export is its people. And that is because we are transnational and we always focus on sending money back home. But in doing so, the workers tend to be exploited and taken advantage of. And I know that PwC, in my time volunteering here, they have the caregiver campaign and whatnot. And so that has been my experience with this this focus. And then also like I'm always cognizant of the fact that I have family who have been caregivers. And so I'm always wondering, like, are they being taken care of, making sure they're not being exploited. So that's my background.
How about you, Joe?
You know, I've been kind of reading and heard some experiences of human trafficking. And I think there's kind of a preconceived notion of what human trafficking is. And I think the actual definition is more broadly defined, and we'll kind of get into those definitions a little later. But yeah, I mean, I know, the Filipino community, many Filipinos have been trafficked to wherever, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. And it's important for us to understand, the history of that, and kind of the experiences of people, and kind of the exploitation that happens because of, people just looking for cheaper labor. But again, I mean, I leave that, to the experts. I'm really excited for this episode to talk about human trafficking, kind of the work that they do to prevent, the exploitation of Filipino workers, not just here in the United States, but all over. So I'm really, really excited of our guests who are here today.
So on that note, let's have them introduce themselves, and we'll start with a group of folks from New York. And so why don't the three of you introduce yourselves, the organization that you work for, and, give us an overview of the work that you're doing, starting with, any one of you, actually.
Yeah. My name is Linda Oalican. I'm the executive director of Damayan, Migrant Workers Association. I also have been, a migrant, domestic worker, for 18 years. Okay, so in 2002, I looked for other domestic workers to address the many abuses that we experience in the industry. And so we formed Damayan to be a self-help organization. At the time, the common problems were wage theft. When you work as a domestic worker, and if you are live-in, they tell you that you could work for 40 hours a week, and that becomes 90, 120 without additional pay.
And no break, because you're living in.
Break is very erratic. That's when, your work stops. But yeah, I did not have any idea that there are more, egregious, problems in the industry until until we help a group of 6 caregivers in 2000, and then they won, and then we made an imprint into the community, and that's when other workers came to us. So yeah, so that's so in 2007, actually earlier than that, but in 2007 we had our big case against labor and human trafficking, and that's the case of Mairi Nunag. She was a nurse, a small business woman in our country, and then she went to the U.S. based on the promise that she will still become a nurse, and ended up working as a housekeeper for the then ambassador to the United Nations, Philippine ambassador to the United Nations, Laura Baha. Okay, yeah. So she was trafficked, right? So that was 2000, but let's step backward. So as we do our work of trying to help domestic workers, we found that trafficking is a big problem in our community. And then we tried to do some research and analysis on our own. From 2003 to 2007, we did community-based participatory research, engaging about 250 of our members to get the data and make an analysis and some, conclusions about, one, the push factors, because many of our members are college educated, many are professionals. We even had 4 members who had PhDs, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's a big question. Why do you leave the country? Why did I leave my country? Because I left the country too, right? Yeah. So the push factors, common element among us, including me, is, the need to find, greener pasture.
Yes.
The need for a better life, to find better work, provide better life for your family back home, right? So why do we have that need? Yeah. So I was, working with the National Housing Authority for 14 years with the Philippine government. Yeah. Our salary could not, provide for, support to send 2 children to college. Yeah. So that's why many of our kababayans, are lured into petty graft, and fraud in the government offices, because government salaries could not really sustain, a family of 4, so that they can have a decent life. Yeah. Poverty, unemployment, we know that, the numbers there are higher, right? They say, there's a lot of work in the Philippines, but if you look closely, many of those jobs are not full-time, secured jobs. Those are contractual jobs, insecure jobs. Yeah. So, if you're trying to build a family, plan for the future of your children, you cannot rely on those jobs. So you have to make a painful decision to leave the country, leave your family, and work abroad, right? So in New York, many of our employers are super wealthy. Many are in the government. Many are, lawmakers. Yeah, and aren't they aware that many of their domestic workers, the workers that they entrust, the very important things in their lives, their children, their parents, their homes, aren't they aware that those workers are undocumented? Because in Damayan, many of our members are undocumented, like 95%. And we are all over the city, servicing, the families in New York, so that American fathers and mothers can go on with their lives working, in corporate America, while entrusting the domestic work inside their homes to the domestic workers. And those domestic workers are immigrant people of color, including Filipinos, right? So there is also pull factors that contribute to the migration and exploitation of overseas, Filipinos. One, the need for domestic work. And second, let's face it, racism has not disappeared. Actually, it has, risen, especially in the current moment, where the current administration, is having fun using rhetoric, against immigrants and low-wage workers, right? Yeah. So racism based on the color of our skin and our lack of immigration status. So those 2 things, have worked against domestic workers and other low-wage workers. So we talk about the push and the pull. And if you are, educated, I was educated in the Philippines. I'm very proud about that. And I was part of the movement in the Philippines. I am very keen to abuses and exploitation and oppression. But here, how do you fight, a system that enslaves not only, Filipino migrant workers, but other people of color? So I try to apply, my basic, learnings in the Philippine movement, and that is through solid organizing. So I started, I was working in New Jersey before. I tried to go to New York City because there I would have, mobility. Unlike in Jersey City, when you are a living person, you're like in a cage.
You're siloed from everyone.
Yes, you're isolated, extremely isolated, and you work alone, and you have, your bosses, the mother and the father, and their children, extended families. Yeah. So that's a very sad,
The lack of community.
It's a very sad work situation, and we're college educated. Yeah. We were professionals, in the Philippines. So when you find yourself in that situation, what happens to you? You lose yourself, right? Yeah, you become, what do you call that? Alienated. Yeah, alienated from yourself and from your community. Yeah. So if you are not driven to really find yourself, find your community, to do something about your life, you will get lost. That's why you hear stories of domestic workers who were trafficked for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. What happened to them? How could that happen in America? But that could happen. So I tried to go to New York, and that's where I found, other domestic workers, and we initiated to form Damayan. So Damayan, what do? We fight, labor abuses. We help workers know their rights to fight labor abuses and immigration attacks against them. At first, we were an advocacy organization, for workers and immigrants and women's rights. And then, guided by our learnings from the Philippine movement, we know that we need to organize, recruit members, build a base, develop leaders. And guess what? When we were first organizing in Central Park to recruit domestic workers in playgrounds, in Central Park.
So you just go there and you just meet.
They were
domestic
running away
workers.
from us.
Oh, wow.
They did not want to know, anything beyond, their jobs. Like, how can I find a job?
They were scared.
They were scared and they were contented. Right. And they did not know what's happening to other, fellow Filipinos or other immigrants, in the city. So, but then when we started, showing what we can do for them, like we can help you, with your case, like, fight your case, win your unpaid wages, and more than that, we can help you get humanitarian visas, trafficking visas, U visas, VAWA, those things. Yeah. And then when we started helping them reunify their families, that was a big, news in the Filipino community.
And then word spread.
Word
Throughout
spread,
the
yeah.
community.
So later they can talk about, how we do the outreach.
Yeah.
But I try to, so that's the focus of our work. We do critical services. But we come from the Philippine movement, and we know that no genuine social change can happen if we do not educate, organize, and mobilize, and develop leaders, from the grassroots. So that's what we do. So Damayan is very strong on base building, developing leaders, and then trying to be a part of the movement for immigrants' rights, labor and immigrant rights. That's what we do.
All right. And so we have two of your organizers here
Right, yeah.
from New York. So why don't you introduce yourselves, and maybe talk about how you came into this work and what are you working on now? So you could start, however.
Yes, great. I will tell you. Okay. My name is Lydia Katina. I'm a domestic worker for more than 13 years. So I came to America in 1998 as a R1 visa, religious visa. I was only 26 years old. So I got the visa for 5 years. I was told that I will work for 2 years. The rest I'll be maybe I go to school because I didn't finish my college. So I was so excited about this opportunity, and also the same my coworkers looking for a better future. So my family works in the farm. So for me, I was so excited. Wow, I'm lucky. I'm going to the U.S. So but that my journey didn't that really ended up that it's like
The path that you thought.
yeah,
you
that
envisioned.
thought that I'm gonna be doing that. After 2 years, I was asked to become a special mission with the continental directors. But those special personal secretary, it wasn't true. I ended up doing the domestic work for 3 years. So I was taking care of the young children,
So for the remainder of your visa, you were a
Yes.
domestic worker.
Yes, like I was doing all the domestic work and taking care as a like a full time mom for the
Yeah.
3 young childrens, and then but I didn't have that salary, and by the time that like like I was looking like what happened for my status, but I was asked like, oh, you need to go to Philippines, but I was kind of thinking like, how gonna go back to Philippines? I'm gonna start it from the scratch, and then the situation in Philippines in my age is gonna be like so hard to look for a job, and so like I escaped in the situation from 2000 and 2003, and then like so like. Being out in the situation, I don't know where to go. I don't know my rights, so I have to really survive. And then they still looking like kind of like chasing after me. Like when you see Lydia, like send her home. So finally, like I was 2003, 2010. Like be able to like kind connected to the organization.
So you found Damayan.
Yes, through my my husband.
Oh.
So like I don't know, the culture of the Filipino, like you are really ashamed what
Yeah.
happened to you. You are so scared.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about your what happened with.
You don't want to ask for help. You wanna-
Yeah. It's like you want to ask for help, but you don't know where to go, and
Yeah.
also like you are so scared and so ashamed what happened with me. Like you don't want
yeah.
anyone to like know
Yeah.
about what happened with you. So in that moment, like 2010, I became like I went to the office of Damayan in New York, and then that. Like I got interviewed by the case manager, so that's what that they found out I was like a victim. I was also a victim of the trafficking, labor trafficking. So that's really started my life. For me, like wow, this is my like a real like a group of people, like a real family
That you
really
aren't alone.
Yeah.
That other women, other workers have had the experiences yourself.
Yes.
How did your husband get connect you to Damayan?
Yes, by the time when I mentioned I escaped, so just like Linda mentioned that we need to survive. The only available work for is a domestic worker. So I was doing domestic work for like nanny, housekeeper. But in the situation, it's like I kept coming back to the same traffic situation, exploited issue, because I just don't know my right. I work like long hours, and then they paid me like a little money. Then I have to travel like from New York to Boston. I have to pay the fare for, but it should be by.
You had to cover your fare,
Yes.
even though you were watching the children or the
Like-
or family members.
Like it's like this supposed to cover your transportation, but because I don't know my right, I have to pay out of my pocket.
Oh,
It's like my salary is already like
Yeah.
really small, and then
they
including
just like deducted it from
Yeah.
you. Like, oh, we're paying you, but then we're gonna deduct the travel wages from you.
yeah, something
That's so
like
wrong.
yeah.
That's terrible.
So my husband really like he's like kind of looking for the kind of group that I know, Lydia. There's like a organization here that helping this kind of situation. So finally he went to the Damayan. That my wife is a Filipina because my husband is a Latino.
Oh,
I like she needs help. So
Yeah.
that's what the case manager called me like, Lydia, do you need to come in? Okay, I will come in. So that's really my life started. I like I got help to like a pro bono lawyer. So I have to really like connected also to the counseling, because once you already open up, that's it. You really you cannot stop crying every time I like talk about my situation. I really just burst into really like really in tears. And then so like that was 2010, 2011 I got approved with my T visa through like my pro bono lawyer City Bar,
what's
New
that
York.
visa again?
T visa,
T visa,
trafficking
trafficking
visa. Yes. So we so I because we were married with my husband, we both undocumented. So through that like a humanitarian relief,
Yes.
so I sponsored my husband.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. So now we are almost going to apply for our green card.
Yes.
I know citizenship.
Yeah.
So you see, like So like I was trafficked in 2000. So I didn't see my family for almost 15 years.
Yeah.
I'm only went back to Philippines like 2015.
Wow.
So I got my T visa like 2011. So I have to wait it for like 3 years more, and then 2015 I went went back to Philippines. So like my life really changed a lot. I used to be really shy. I don't want to talk. You know, when you go up in the province in Philippines, that you're like
Nahihiya.
Opo, our tradition, you cannot just talk. Like your mom would say, go over there that we are talking with. So this kind of culture, right? So it was like so quiet. But in Damayan, you have to really learn how to talk.
Find
to
your
really,
voice.
you have to really fight for your rights. So when I learn my rights, I cannot stop talking about it. So I said like I need to do something. Like it's a lot of my workers out there crying for help, but they don't know where to go. So like I attended a lot of training, know your rights, and then how in learning what happened, why we need to come, why we need to leave our country. Those like we don't have a job back in our country, and then like there's a lot of kind of you cannot afford like going to school or can just it's just not enough for the family. So like now I'm a full-time staff in Damayan, and also I'm a community organizer and also case manager. Help the others to really like kind of helping them to
Transition, like how you were helped.
Yes. So kind of so I think it's like what blessing I receive is like kind
You
of
give back to
share,
them.
share to the community. We need all that kind of like leaders to really come forward to like really work together. Yeah.
And then I'm sure like when they see you and you share your story with them, they can and then with Tita Linda as well, like they see that like they're not alone, that they can grow,
That's
that they
really
can
true.
get out of their situation.
Yes. Yeah, from that moment, I like kind of when they really come into our office, like kind of like give them some orientation about Damayan, like and also storytelling is very
It's very impactful.
yes. They can really you relate to one another.
Yeah.
And then you see what happened with it. Yes, you can do it also. Like just try, file your case, and then your life will be like kind of a bit better. But of course, it's not gonna be end in that situation. You got your T visa or you have a job. Yeah, the situation get really worse. That's why we need to be organized.
Correct.
And then we need to encourage others.
Kayo po, Edith. Tita Edith. How did you get to Damayan?
Before of all, hello everyone. Thank you, Tita Linda. Thank you, Lydia. My name is Edith Mendoza. I am domestic worker as well, and I'm a trafficking survivor. First, I would like to thank you, Damayan, because through Damayan, I got the dignity. As what Lydia said, being a survivor or traffic victim, it's a kind of horrible experience in a human. I was treated by my employer, diplomats, not a human before. So when I went to Damayan, when I asked for help, or I'm looking for help, when I feel that I am alone. I was devastated. I was being, not being treated as a human. I was so sad, and I feel that nobody besides me, because I was working with a diplomats, which I know that they are good people because they are high profile. But then, in reality, the contract that I signed up is all lies. So when I go back to my contract and review about it, I said, oh no, this is all lies. So After 1.5 years that I've been working there, I feel that my body is worsen, or my health gonna fall down or break out. So when the time that I cannot even move myself because I feel dizzy, I feel my head is not is numb. I cannot feel my head anymore, and my eyes getting blurry. So I was alarm my health. That's, oh my gosh, this is not normal. Because you know what, I feel those things. I've been working for 80 to 100 hours a week. So imagine for one person doing all the things, work in the house, including nannies, housekeeping, cooking, laundry, everything about the domestic work is all in me. Aside from nanny of four kids, all are boys. So if you talk about boys, they're so active, especially when they are having play dates. You cannot even focus to one work, so your mind is touring where to go. So it's really hard to focus. Oh, who am I that time? So I was tortured in. I don't know. I call it tortured because I cannot even feel how to eat. I mean, my food, I cannot even taste how does it taste.
Wow.
So, and I cannot even feel my bed because I just lay down in it, get up again. So it seems that I'm not sleeping anymore. I don't even have chance to eat good food. So those factors that I've been experienced through makes my body very ill. So in short, I do not know if I need to elaborate all my experiences. I've been shoveling all through the winter time. And also, the distance is so far from their house because the house is too big. It's kind of huge house with 6 stories, bedrooms, and there were 6 bathrooms as well. Aside from the kitchen is very big. Dining room.
Would you be the only one?
I'm only one.
And
working.
you have to take care of the entire house.
Everything, yes.
Yeah.
So including driving, you're going to grocery and take the kids also to the school, take them back to their house,
Yeah.
and taking care of them with their play dates and serve them with different food preferences. So if you imagine how do you manage those things to do everything in only one person. So of course I'm only human. I'm not a robot. I'm not a machine.
Yeah.
So my body got worse and worse and worse until such time that I cannot already manage myself because, imagine that I did also experience 3 months bleeding. Not only bleeding as like menstruation, but bleeding as your pee with blood.
Wow.
And
Oh
when
my
you're
gosh.
showering, the shower
Yeah.
tub is flooded by blood. So
Because of stress and
Yeah,
just your
so-
body breaking down.
I know, yeah. So that's the cause why I was so scared. So I don't know anybody in US. So when I feel that situation, I told to myself that I do not like to die like this. Especially when they bought a ladder. The ladder is triple from my height. So imagine it's so high because I need to reach the part of the house that's dirty where the birds go through.
Outside?
No,
Or
inside the house.
Oh.
There are 2 birds that freely flying along the house.
Oh.
So imagine if there are 2 birds that you don't know where to go, where the birds is.
Yeah,
You need
yeah.
to find out. You should have not let the birds go in that particular area because
Yeah.
they have destroyed things there. So, and then you are trying also to supervise kids,
Yeah.
and then running here and there. So the birds show where are they going? And then, oh my gosh, where are the birds? The birds are going there. And then, oh my gosh.
And then
So-
you're expected to
yeah,
clean
they're
and
expected to
find-
clean
yeah.
and sanitize, not only to clean and wipe the poo or piece. You have to get sanitized, or the strong chemicals, hazardous chemicals, and without my no protection
Yeah.
in my body, no mask, no gloves. So I don't know how many times. Every time I see the birds going there, I need to wash. And at the same time, there's somebody crying on my side, carried my baby with me. And then
Oh my
when
gosh.
the baby cries, the mom is working at home. So when the baby cries, the mom called me, Ida, please stop. Please let Martin stop, please. So how could I stop the baby when he knows that the mom is around? Because she's getting attention with her mom. And he said, oh, yeah, he's with me. So what can I do? Oh, you try him to go out. And how about the rest of the boys? So of course, your mind tortured already, and you don't know what to do first because you are trying to finish everything before the kids will come home. And then you prepare breakfast, their snacks for how many boys. So I said, oh my gosh, I need to get help. So I tried to search through Google. Oh, I cannot even allowed to hold phones. So I tried to hide my phone during the nighttime, covered my body with the pillow, because it is transparent because there's camera in my home. I don't know, it's a camera.
There's a camera in your room.
There are cameras around the house, and it is also alarm when you open the door. So I tried to communicate with some Filipino community, and I found a church. So I sent message to the church, and they said, okay, when you come here, you try to come to our church, and they will introduce to you about Damayan. So when they mentioned about Damayan, I was interested to that. And I said, okay, I'll try to find out what Damayan is all about. And while I'm searching that, I'm trying to figure out how could I talk to them, because I'm not allowed to open all the gadgets. So I said, okay. So there was one time that when I sent to them, it's already nighttime or morning time, so I even no time to rest. And when I send email, so about my situation, somebody responds to that email, and it said, okay, will you please set a time to talk to us and set a time to come to the office. But I said I cannot go out because my time is limited during my day off. So there was time that they messaged the flyer, and they said there is academy workshop on these days. Also, if you want to come, set a time to come, please. So they give me all the information how to get to the office. But it so happened that I cannot get during the weekdays. So I said, can you set a time during the weekend? So somebody called me. I don't know where was. They were 3 staff that time talking to me, and I instructed me where to go. So during my day off, instead of going to church, I had to go straight to the office and attended the 3 session for the workshop. So I learned a lot about my situation, about my rights, and I said, oh my gosh, if I were know this before, since I had to tell to my to my employer. But you know that my employer is a human what do you call that? I'm sorry, the department,
Human Rights Director.
human rights director in UN. So I said, oh my gosh,
So the human rights director
Yes,
is
so-
abusing your human rights.
I do not know that before. I only found out when I filed my case that because they had to trying to find out who is my employer.
Yeah.
Wait, how long did you find out about Damayan and all the rights before?
Yeah. So when my health deteriorated, I felt that I'm gonna collapse. Just one climbing up the height ladder, I might be drop or some
Yeah, you could fall.
Yeah, I could fall or collapse my body or wherever I am. If I do something, then I might be dying or some.
Yeah.
So how long were you working before you found out about Damayan?
Yeah, I've been working with them for about 1.5 years.
Oh wow.
And then so after 1 and 2 months, I found Damayan. So through Damayan, I learned a lot. So they gave me free services. They offered me a lot of trainings. They offered me some financial assessment and how to manage myself because I was in that traumatized.
Yeah.
My health is.
Were you able to get out of that employer?
Yeah, that's the interesting part of my life because when I learned my right, I empowered. So since I empowered, because I know my rights already, and then we plan already the safety. We had the safety planning, talking to me how could I escape to that situation, and what I was scared of is I may not know if they will quote me or what. So I said, let me manage myself. I will let you know if I am outside already. And so slowly I took all my stuff. Every Sunday is my day off.
Oh,
it's about they allow me to have day off, but it's
It's like to go to church or something.
just control. There's a control restriction movement because they keep asking me where I am, what time I'm going back to. And so, oh my God, I cannot even stay for 4 hours outside. So traveling, going to Queens is about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then attending to the events or any appointments is about 1 hour or something. And then go back. And so I got home late. So once I got late, they have to many words that I will.
They would like discipline you or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So there was one time that I asked for help and I said, "Can I go to doctor because I feel very, I feel terrible already.
Yeah.
I cannot manage myself. I cannot stay stationary already." And I said, "Oh, I cannot go to nearby." So I tried to go there nearby, but they cannot treat my problem is because my insurance is not covered. They give you insurance, but it's not accepted to there. And so I asked Filipino help.
Yeah.
For me to go to the doctor, and then they introduced me about nearby to the Queens where they are living. And I found out that I need to rest for at least 4 days. So when I showed that to my boss, they scolded at me and they said, "Oh, it's all unreasonable, it's all unacceptable. So you don't go to the doctor if you are on duty." Oh my gosh! I said, "Oh, I am dying, and you're still caring about the works, not me. You're not caring about me. Either you can go to the doctor if we are not around. If you are not around, there's a lot of work that you demanded me to do.
Yeah.
How can I go out? There are birds. There are so many things to do in the house. How can I go out if you are not around?"
Wow.
And you, the human rights director.
And then they never return the money. Never return my expenses. I don't have even food to eat. Yeah.
Wow.
So there was one time that I eat the leftover of the kid, and they said the next day, "Oh, who ate the spaghetti here? The spaghetti is just a leftover of the baby."
Yeah.
Wow.
So oh my gosh. Just the spaghetti. They're counting the laman laman of the fridge. And I said, "Oh my God, I only eat yung puwet ng tinapay."
Yeah.
So it couldn't enough to sustain my energy to work the whole day. So
They expected you to just be a robot, like clean.
That's why I always telling them,
don't
"I
eat,
am not a robot.
don't be
I'm not a
sick."
machine.
Yeah.
I'm a human. I feel tired. I feel thirsty. I feel hungry. I feel sleepy. I am the same human as they are."
Yeah.
And I said, "Why they treated me like this?" And then when I did not go back, so I focused to my health, and the doctor told me not to work, not to go back to your work, because the doctor was telling me that you cannot travel in your situation. You need to stay here for 4 days and you come back to me after 2 days. So I told that to my boss, and my boss said, no, you come back here. We need you here. Nobody will take care of my kids. Nobody will blah, 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 blah.
Nobody, they couldn't take care of their own children.
Yeah, and so every time I remember what they did to me, I feel I don't like others experience like this.
Yeah.
I want myself to be an inspiration to tell my story, the impact of my story to reach out the workers around the corner or somewhere out there. And so I empowered after the Workers Academy to fight my rights. And so I said, what you did to me is a violation of the federal law. So I said, there are the human rights you should have to know.
Yeah.
I told either you came here because of us, you got a paper because of us. Parang ano yung tawag nila. And I said, yes, I know. Yeah, I know.
Utang na loob.
It's not that's the language, but it tied up my visa with them.
Yeah. So they were saying you can't leave because
I cannot leave. Yeah,
your visa is attached to being an employee of this family.
Like that. Yeah. So but then because I also love myself, I also love my family. It didn't even telling them that that situation is like that. And I told to my family, I'm fine. I'm okay here. So don't worry. But the fact is, I'm almost dying. So, so after all this, I'm so thankful of Damayan because I got all the resources that I have to go through. So after 2 years, I got my visa. The trafficking visa. When I got the visa, I already, eagerness, the eagerness that I have inside, or the impact of my story inspired me as well, empowered me as well to share my ability to organize people because my background is also a teacher in the Philippines. So I said, I will do this as what Lydia said, the inspiration of my story be the inspiration of others, that if I empower, the others also empowered. So being organized or as organizer, I started my work in Damayan 2018. I got my visa first 2018, so I started also my work in Damayan as a volunteer. First as a volunteer because I also need to know what is organizing in nonprofit and being an activist. So I love to be an activist because of the impact of my story. And then through that, I'm happy doing the base building, the community, base building trust relationship. As what Lydia said, we are working with the people that are scared. They don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
That's what I experienced before, where I don't know also where I'm going.
Yeah.
So I can relate to what the people or the workers is having at that moment. So go back to the work in Damayan. I also learn a lot.
Yeah.
So our ED is our parang nanay na namin. Na if we cannot understand, we're trying to ask, how can we do this? Please relate your just story, and then you tell to the people about organizing is very important.
Yeah.
So we welcome all the domestic workers, Filipino workers, to come to our office, or we organize them to be involved with our movement so that they can learn about what the men is all about, what is the root causes why they came here. So we also conduct Know Your Rights training many times because if you only attended one Know Your Rights training, you cannot understand.
Yeah, you have to continue.
So you need to absorb.
It's a lot of information.
Yeah, you need to absorb, and there are a lot of changes in this country, Trump administration. So that's very important for the Filipino workers to know all about. And then another thing in my life, is the reunification of my family. So
Nice.
in last June 20th, 2019, my family, my husband and my son reunified with me.
amazing.
Yeah, so
They're in New York with you.
yes, they are in New York now. So that's amazing.
How long had you been separated from them?
It's about 13 years, but
13 years.
But it's only 8 because when 2000 before I came here, I went home first
Oh.
for about 2 weeks and then come back.
2 weeks
Go
is
back. Yeah.
That's 13 years. It's still 13 years.
Yes,
Those 2
13
weeks.
years. So I
the
go
2 weeks
back
don't
to
count.
Qatar and then before coming back,
Yeah.
I coming here.
Oh, so you're at a journey. You were in the Middle East, then you came back, and then you came to the States.
Yeah. So comparing to my boss in Qatar is so different. That's why when I came here, I was shocked. Because I was expected that if you're nanny, just work as a nanny. But the fact is no.
Well, thank you for telling your story. I mean, it sounds so harrowing. And again, all of you are here for this summit that happened these last 2 days, and there were folks from throughout the country that came. And so we have one more guest with us who's not from New York, but from New Mexico, right? So why don't you introduce yourself and maybe talk about how what your experience was like?
Oh, yeah, sure. First, I need to commend these ladies from New York. Thank you for speaking up and standing up and for advocating for others. My story is not different from them,
Which is sad.
which is also a sad story. We are a group of teachers. Who
Could you
came
introduce
here.
yourself too?
Oh, I'm
Yes, I-
okay. So I'm Mairi Nunag from New Mexico. Originally from Bohol, Philippines. Bisaya.
Oh, Bisaya.
Yeah. So I came here in 2008 as a teacher. And we all know that it's part of the wave of migration, guest workers, migration. And there's a lot of visa kinds.
Yeah.
They're recruiting
that
a lot
they
of
use.
teachers.
They're recruiting.
So New Mexico recruited Philippine teachers?
Louisiana at that
Louisiana.
time.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But teacher recruitment is really in the whole U.S.
Yeah,
Because
it's all over now.
The narrative
Yeah.
had always been nurses, right, and caregivers. So the
Yes.
teacher recruitment in
last 15
in
years.
the last
or
15
something.
years is what is
That
the
is
new
correct.
trend.
That
correct?
is correct. And we are part of that wave, and the push factors and the pull factors are the same.
It hasn't changed in
It
30,
hasn't changed.
40 years.
Maybe for us teachers,
100.
it's just
100.
100
That's
years.
true. So maybe
Oh, wow.
just a little addition would be professional growth.
Hmm.
But it's the same thing. The poverty and the unemployment and opportunities are the same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. So what happened is for us, the recruited teachers, the recruiters really know how to manipulate laws, legal policies into their favor. So it's like an institutionalized recruitment, trafficking.
Trafficking.
Yeah. I, for one, filed my trafficking visa after the fact that after we learned that we have this. It's a trafficking case, but it's a different
kind
of
right?
trafficking.
Because
It's
you
more-
were teachers, and then you paid a fee to come to the States, right? It was like your recruitment fee, and then what had happened? Was the job, was it a bait and switch in terms of what the teaching job was?
part of the recruiter scheme would be luring you to come here, so that's the part of forcing you to be here
Yeah.
because of these opportunities.
Yeah.
But then when you come here, that's where the intimidation, the abuses,
Were the teaching appointments non-existent when you got here?
some of them, but luckily in my case, there is a teaching job.
Oh, okay.
There is, but the intimidation and
Yeah.
the exorbitant fees.
Yeah.
Yeah, because of those exorbitant fees, we have the debt bondage. We just work just to pay for the
fee-
debts,
the
the
debt.
loans that we incurred. So that's the trafficking element
Yeah.
right there, on top of the intimidation of the recruiters. And we are not allowed, just like them, we are not allowed to be friends with the Filipino community.
So they wanted to keep you isolated.
Yeah,
so you
because
couldn't-
that's their thing. You just have to be isolated, so you cannot be with your with other people sharing the same sentiments. So you cannot organize yourself. You cannot network. So what happened to us is we are like 347 teachers. So we just bonded ourselves. Not all, but there are a few who went ahead and did the case. So ours is the first ever class certified case against professionals in the U.S.
Wow.
So it's so historic that it became the precedence of other trafficking cases all over the U.S. So after that, since we have our trafficking visas, it reached to our green cards right now. So just imagine the impact it had on not only for the teachers themselves, but for each of our families.
Wasn't the recruitment agency, they were Filipino, weren't they?
Yes, they are, and they're from here.
They're from LA. Yeah.
In fact, our case was tried here. It's a jury case back in 2012 when we won the jury, what you call that? It resulted to a 4.5 million supposedly
like a class action
indemnification.
lawsuit, right?
Yeah, it's a class action lawsuit. The only thing is we don't have that money because
it's still tied up, right?
It's still tied up, but the court did not see any accounts from the recruiters. Because what happened is you pay that back home. So that's why I'm saying it's institutionalized. They know how to play the system. So what we are now advocating are policy changes so that others will not experience what we have experienced.
Yeah.
Both back home, because these recruiters, they are registered and licensed under POEA in the Philippine government.
Oh my God, I didn't know that that's what they
And
did.
then they're also licensed here.
Yeah.
So just imagine.
It is institutionalized
It
because
is
then it's
institutionalized.
like the Philippine government is giving them the sign off
That's
to continue to do this work under the guise of we're helping our kababayan, they're going to get jobs.
Yes.
But they know full well it's going to lead to exploitation.
Wait, so going back, you were promised a teaching job, or the 347 people were promised teaching jobs. What was the reality?
Actual job, yeah.
Oh, it's teaching. But the only thing is, some of my friends did not have a job because they just, I think that's where
they didn't have enough jobs?
They don't have enough job yet. They need to be placed. You were recruited here, but when you come here, you need to be placed in a district. And those are hard to fill vacancies.
Yeah.
How would that be? That's not in LA though, right? Because
It's in Louisiana.
It's
That's
in
in
Louisiana.
Louisiana.
And then did you have to have like Louisiana teacher certification?
Yes. Yeah.
So it was more testing and more money in terms of like
That's correct. And not only that, you are not allowed to choose where to live and who to live with.
so they forced you to live.
Yeah. And then we found out that the apartment is $600 apartment, and there's 4 of us, and we contribute like $300 each. So it's double.
So someone is pocketing another $600.
Yeah. And then the transportation, like the carpool, because of course we don't have the capacities yet to buy cars at that time.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is the placement fees, because we don't have money. So of course you do the loans back home with interest rates, and then. And the loan sharks are part of the recruiters, of course. Yeah. They did not ask for any collateral, but your visa itself is the collateral.
It's modern day
it's
indentured servitude.
That is correct.
Because you're expected to keep paying back your fee.
And the scheme is, we thought that the $7,000 processing fee was it.
And that would go towards all of this.
Yeah, but then when we passed, we were granted visas already, working visas, that is the time that they will tell you, okay, it's the time now for the placement fee, which is 10,000 at my time.
10,000.
10,000. So we are forced.
And then where do you?
If I will not come,
And 10,000 cash, not 10,000 pesos.
$10,000.
$10,000.
So if I will not go through,
Yeah.
I have a $7,000
Yeah.
loan already.
Then you
How
have
can
to
I pay that?
And then, so they know.
They know. That's the part that the teachers were forced to come.
Wow.
So the opportunity to pay your 7,000 and your 10,000,
Yeah.
and then just imagine we also need to send back
Yeah.
for provisions for
your
I
families.
myself. I am a single parent with 2 kids.
Yeah.
So just imagine the pain.
Yeah.
So you got a settlement from the case. Is that the end of the case? Is there anything else, like a follow-up legal action, or is that just it?
So far, that's it. That's it. We also filed other cases because this is not just an immigration case. This is also a labor case.
Yeah.
This is also human rights.
Yeah.
And for us, most of maybe 95% are women. So it also encompasses women's rights.
Going back to the kind of the legal definitions, can any of you kind of explain kind of the legal definition of human trafficking, as opposed to general kind of just worker abuse?
Well, I'll try. Okay. Human trafficking, as we understand it, has 2 areas. One is sex trafficking, and one is labor trafficking. So I could focus on labor trafficking, and maybe the others could add. So labor trafficking is the recruitment, transport, harboring, of an individual for labor exploitation. So what you can and what you can see in the 3 stories is a common element. An individual or an institution is trying to exploit labor, domestic work, or a teaching job. From people coming from poor countries because their labor is cheap. Yeah. So that's, and we also learned that there are more cases of labor trafficking compared to sex trafficking. And we could understand that. It's, to me, it's barely common sense.
Yeah.
Because it is work. It is work that makes the world go round to me. It's not love, actually. It's work. Yeah. And, It is work.
Yeah.
America, is leading to automation of labor. Yeah. It really has, the business owners, capitalists, are in full control of the resources and science, advancement in the country to advance their, to further their business and make more profit. And, what happens to the workers? They're left behind. Yeah, there are to me there are work industries that is very hard to automate, like domestic work. Yeah. How can you? I don't know if they can train a robot, to take care of children, to take care of parents, with really long-term illnesses. Maybe cleaning the house is easier, right? But those 2, care work, right? That's very hard to automate.
Or teaching.
Teaching. Yeah. So they will really depend on human beings to perform that work. And where will that labor come from? It comes from, poor countries. Yeah. And if you take into account, the history of the Philippines, for example, and the history of the relationship of rich countries and poor countries around the globe, what she's saying about institutionalization.
It's like
of trafficking.
It's
the
basically
same.
capitalism forces all of us to participate in this.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say we're forced to participate, but like capitalism is the root of like why we are all doing these things, like why you are moving across countries to support your families.
Yeah. So backlash, which means 2 things. Yeah. First is breaking free. We our our goal is to help each individual traffic worker to break free. Right? Yeah, you have heard the stories. We try to help.
Yes.
Yeah, in different ways for them to get out of that slavery work condition.
And
right.
if someone listening is in this situation and wanted to reach out to Baklas, to be a part of Baklas, how could they do so? Should they contact?
Yes, I will go to that. Let me talk about one very important thing too. The second part of Baklas, the meaning of Baklas is dismantling. Of course, we cannot dismantle capitalism. That is really the root of this problem, right? Yeah, but we can be part of a movement that educates, raises public awareness, so that there will be a campaign, local campaigns, national campaign, and maybe global campaign against labor trafficking and modern day slavery. So the institutions, you can see that there is no visa for domestic work. Very selected. Only those for privileged employers like diplomats and those employers from global institutions like United Nations, World Bank, those things. Yeah, there is no visa, but they know that every household here employs a domestic worker. They know that it's an elephant, in the city. Yeah, right?
In New York.
In New York, every here too. When there are elder seniors, that are especially that.
Yeah. It's the big the secret that everyone knows.
Yeah, and nobody talks about it. Why? Because the system, the super rich, right? Those who are in control of the status quo in the U.S. and in the Philippines too, and around the globe, they like that. Keep on, improving the business. Import cheap labor to do the care work, the teaching job, and let's see where it goes. But the aim of this system is profit, exploitation of labor, and they don't care about what happens to the individuals. Like me, I have a dysfunctional family. It's very sad. I came here too. I was an activist, but I was forced to come here because I wanted to, send my 2 children to college, right? And what happens now? I have a very problematic relationship with my children, and I'm supposed to have 2 grandchildren, and I'm totally disconnected to my grandchildren because my son, who came here, after getting his master's degree from La Salle, ended up, becoming a low-wage worker. And he blamed me for everything bad that happened to him to this country. So that's another big, a thing about, migrant mothers. When they bring their families here, another host of problems, arise. Because everyone becomes a victim of the system. Everyone becomes a low-wage worker. You go to the, industries where the rights are not well defined. What happens to you? So that happens to our family members. And who gets blamed? Oh, okay. So the mother, the migrant mother who came here first to provide for the family, and like that. So it doesn't end, right? We can understand that corporate America may not care, but what about our country, right? If now 1 of 4 families in the Philippines has a father, a mother, or a child, an older child abroad, and what happens to the family, right? So when our president in the Philippines tell us, come back, be part of the,
but what do you have to come back to?
That's right. They tell us to be part of the recovery,
integration, but there's nothing to come back to.
That's right. Yeah. So we want to tell him it's the opposite thing.
Yeah.
Please develop, the local economy first. Give us, assurance that we will have jobs and basic needs for our family. Then we will be happy to go back. So backlash, right?
Yes.
Going back to backlash. So labor exploitation is global.
Yes.
So why do we focus on Filipinos? Obviously, we're Filipinos, but
That makes sense.
not only that, because the Philippines and Filipinos play a central role in the chain,
Yeah.
the global chain for labor trafficking.
Yeah.
It's very ironic that the Philippines is now in the tier 1 against the fight. In the fight against trafficking. Yes, it has progressed, the Philippines, it has signed treaties, some things, but look
They're
at
still the biggest abusers of it.
look at our reality, right? Has it changed, its labor export program?
Yeah.
Our government people don't even talk about it, right? But it is happening, from the 70s up to the present.
Well, it's
right?
interesting because we watched this movie, Hello, Love, Goodbye. It's the new like ABS-CBN movie, and it's about domestic workers in Hong Kong. And I remember when we watched it, I was like, this movie feels exactly like Anak, which I watched in the 90s. And then there's a scene, my favorite scene in the movie is like all the domestic workers are on their day off and they're watching Anak. And they're watching the scene in Anak where like Vilma Santos is yelling at Claudine and she's like, don't you know what I do for you? And it's the scene that always makes me cry my eyes out. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. Don't you know what she did for you? And but that's like, it's a rehash, right? That's 20 years later. And the domestic workers in Hong Kong are still having their day off. They're still trying to figure out their ways. We're talking to you now. We're having this conversation. Baklas needs to exist so that we can get the word out that this is an issue for our community. We need to advocate for our fellow kababayans.
Right, yeah. Yeah, the Philippines is the number 4 remittance receiving country around the globe. Compare our economy to China. China is number 1, India is number 2. Number 3 is Mexico. We're a very small economy, but we're the number 4 remittance receiving country. Yeah. What does it say? Yeah, 1 of our 10 people is abroad, working, sending money to support.
What happens if that economy no longer gets remittances?
Yeah, so, the people in the Philippine government should think about that, right? Yeah. So, backlash as a national campaign, it is very important. Yeah, it is, I think, a qualitative, development to the work that for the many years of hard work that, Filipino Worker Center and Damayan, have been doing, to the, passion and dedication of organizers and case managers like Wawi. Hi, Wawi.
Wawi's back in there.
Wawi's back in the room.
So, she's not here.
Oh, she's behind you.
There. Okay, so we know that the power of stories.
Yes.
How do you tell professionals who gave up everything in the Philippines just to come here that they made a wrong decision?
Yeah.
How do you? So you can only tell that through personal stories.
Yeah.
So on that note, maybe starting with you, Mairi, like, what is next in your story? What are you doing next to, are you working on something in particular now or,
Yeah, sure. So my personal story should not end with me. I wish it would be more communal, more from personal to political, because this is really a political thing. Immigration, labor, women's rights, promotion. We also need to advocate and raise public awareness about you are trafficked if coming here resulted to hardships. You are trafficked, not being forced, but forced in a way that you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
If you don't have a choice, you are forced. Mga kababayan, if you feel all those, there's deceit in the transport, in the way that you come here, you are trafficked, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of trafficking, but it's still trafficking. So we really need to be aware of those kinds of trafficking. We cannot be embarrassed. I mean, professionals, educated. That's the thing. It's a
It's
scam.
the shame. It's the
Yeah.
shame element, right, of
Yeah.
the Filipino culture, where like you don't want to acknowledge that you were hoodwinked by the recruiters and then you were trafficked.
Yeah.
But the reality is, you have to let that go in order to advocate for yourself.
Let that go, because it's a modern day slavery. And it needs
Yes.
to stop. Whether there's factors, pull factors, push factors, we really have to be like Lydia and Edith, to be empowered.
Yes.
How about for you, Edith? I know your case, was it like last year, this year, where it was dismissed? But I mean, what's the next steps for you, and what do you continue to do in your work?
Yeah, it's sad to say that because they are diplomats and they have the power of immunity, so my case was dismissed. So
Oh my gosh.
that's been sad for me, because I've been working as more than a robot, and did not even pay a little bit for me. So that's challenge for me, is to send to all over the world that, as Mairi said, they need to know first their human rights before they will go to that specific country. So it's good in this country that human right is the strong force development to know all for the domestic work or all the labor. Yung lahat ng pumupunta dito. So, for me, I would like to render to all the worker that having planned to come to abroad, to first know their rights, first research how to deal with this kind of work, just in case they'll have to victimize by these traffickers. They need to go to contact Damayan. Damayan is open. PwC is open all over the U.S. They can connect to us or to the PwC or any movements that could work with trafficker. So backlash is a nationwide, as Linda said. This campaign is a strong, is a powerful tool for the workers to be connected, because our fight is for human rights, to dismantle this kind of trafficking system. So,
How about for you, Lydia? What does the work look like for you moving forward?
I'm looking forward to really organize more workers to come forward to see us and then find out what kind of humanitarian relief that available for them because of the current immigration situations. If you have experience, if you think that your contract been violated, you were working long hours, if you are domestic worker, or you've been you are not allowed to take your days off, that's already the sign, especially if your passport were taken, because our passport was taken by our employer. That's really very powerful, that this shouldn't be taking your personal documents. If you need any help, please looking for our website at damayanmigrants.org, or you can call us to our number 212-564-6057. We are open Sunday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. to 11 to 7 p.m. And also our address in Midtown, New York, 406 West, 48th Street, 3rd floor, New York, 10018. And I want also to acknowledge the work of Damayan. We've been working since the trafficking, trafficking campaign, for more than since 2007 until up and now, but Damayan been around for 17 years. So we've been like recognized that like we won T visa for more than more than 3 dozens, and we reunified family for like 26 couples, and also like we have more than 50 children with their family. So I think like those kind of story is valid. So please do not be ashamed what happened with you. You just need to find a right group organization in order for you to connect to the right services that you needed. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And then, Wowie, do you want to talk about PwC or do you want Joe to do it? Because Joe can.
So we do want to acknowledge and thank Wowie for bringing us all together today. Wowie, who works here at the Filipino Workers Center. I was literally like here trying to fix a computer thing, and she was like, "Hey, I was just thinking about you. Make sure we can do this conversation that we're having right now." But yeah, Joe, if you want to talk about the Filipino Workers Center and the work that happens here too, and how folks can connect with that as well.
Well, yeah, Filipino Workers. I'm not sure if I'm the best representative, even though I'm on the board, but I haven't got my talking points down. Just like Damayan, they do a lot of wraparound services for Filipino American workers, undocumented, those who are human trafficked. You can reach them at pwcsc.org, as well as 213-250-4353.
Yeah, Wowie nodded her head. That was right.
But yeah, you can contact them, contact Wowie, contact Aki, contact Lily, a lot of the folks here.
Mm-hmm. And so I want to thank all of you for sharing your stories. I know some of them might have been really difficult to share with all of us, but as many of you alluded to, it's really important for people to feel like they can come forward and find folks and advocates like all of you, so that we can make sure that kind of these issues are raised up, in the national consciousness, and then we can take action and organize and make sure that those issues are heard and that justice is found. So I really appreciate all of you, coming and sharing that story with all of us here in LA.
Yeah, and I would like to say thank you very much to this, because like I have family who are domestic workers, and like I think I shared it earlier. Like I'm always worried about them, just because me because
too.
of PwC and the work that I know, and I've talked to caregivers in the past, and they share their stories, and I'm like, but my tita is doing this exact same work, but my cousin is doing this exact same work, and I check in, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, and I say like Happy Thanksgiving or Merry Christmas, and they're like, we're okay. And I'm like, I don't know if you're really okay. And but I just want anyone else who's listening, if you are in someone who is in a situation, please reach out to these two organizations, or reach out to like your fellow Filipino Americans, because we do want to help you. We want to make sure that you get your dignity, because that's the most important part, and that's the really heartbreaking thing about this situation, is that like the exploitation is leading to like the erasure of everyone's dignity, and that is uncalled for and unreprehensible.
And Mairi, something you wanted to add about that too?
No, I just wanted to make sure that for the workers, there will always be unions in your workplaces, and that's a very important component of our workers' lives. Be unionized, because that's the very first step to be empowered in the workplace.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and we'll let folks know how to contact all of you, and hopefully help support your work moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here.
This Filipino American Life is produced by Michael Nailat. Our intro and outro music is by Roger Habon, aka 10.4 Raj. Resident reality checker Girly Colado, legal advisor Rianne Fajardo, and graphic design by Vincent Collyer.